Hello, Kurtis.
Hey, Bill, what's going on, man?
Man, it's another episode of Under the Hoodie with Bill and Kurtis, or with Kurtis and Bill.
Doesn't matter. We could just say KB or BK.
Well, speaking of, I like your hoodie. That's really cool. That's a Ralph Lauren polo.
It is,
That's nice. Yeah, very good.
Yeah, thank you. I decided to dress up today. Felt like it deserved it. Episode 5, is it? So I feel like it deserves something.
It's episode 5, and I think in 3 episodes I was wearing not this exact shirt, but just a black T-shirt. That's my.
Yeah, that's how I picture your closet being. Basically, you open it up and it's just a whole bunch of black T-shirts.
Like Superman, just a bunch of blue suits with red capes.
Yeah, okay, Matt, maybe, but
right. I'm adequate, man. Well, great to see you again. I'm kind of liking where we're headed with our podcast. We started out, is this worth doing? Is anyone going to listen to this? And I think we've gotten some viewers. Angie helped. Angie's episode was phenomenal. It was nice to hear from someone who's done this.
Yeah. We've been getting good feedback, right? I have people like, hey, good job with the podcast. So I'm shocked. I legitimately thought we had 2, maybe 3 viewers. And at least 4 people. Yeah. And at least 4 people messaged me saying, hey, good job. So pat ourselves on the back,
Yeah. I mean, we'll keep doing this until we don't have fun anymore. And or people stop saying what they said to you. Right. We were in Toronto last week, your country, just around the corner from where you are. It was a lovely time. We did CMLS, Council of MLS, and we did the International MLS Forum. Why don't you break down our experience in Toronto a little bit?
Ooh, hot weather, sweaty people, good conversations. Is that a good way to describe it?
Yeah, you were on stage. You did some stage work.
I did, yeah. We talked about AI and data, more specifically how we can use data to better train AI, and what kind of data comes out of using AI, which is a very interesting topic. Data exhaust, as we call it, which is super cool. So you're using all these tools, you're ingesting all this new types of data, in our case, customer conversations and that type of thing. And what data is spit out of that you can actually analyze and, work with to improve your product or build new products. Kind of super interesting.
It was a cool panel. I thought you did a great job. It's interesting just how quickly these kinds of conversations have materialized in an environment like that. I'm speaking to the International MLS Forum aspect of this, is that when you and I first met in Milan, and that was the second International MLS Forum, and the one in Paris no one was discussing artificial intelligence. It was not it was a thing, but it wasn't a thing for us. And then in Milan, it was, that's where you and I met. We had a panel that was loosely included AI, I think. And then suddenly you're on stage with 2 or 3 other people discussing artificial intelligence, data derivatives, and kind of some pretty detailed stuff.
Yeah, it was very interesting. Some good feedback. Made some jokes on stage that people didn't appreciate. Mostly Amazon buying the entire real estate industry up for our data. But it was good. It was good. And you moderated a panel, Bill. Let's not forget that.
I mean, yeah. The grand finale of every conference is discussing new construction.
Honestly, it was super interesting, though. It was very interesting, like shockingly interesting.
You're kind.
No offense to Bill, and I can't remember who else was on the stage with you.
Eileen O'Driscoll.
Yeah, Eileen. I do. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, I assumed it was just going to be about new construction and incredibly boring and dry, because who cares? But it was actually very, very engaging. So you learn something new every day.
Well, thanks. Thanks. It's an important topic, and it's no less important than it was 10 years ago when we really didn't still know what to do with new construction data in the MLS universe. And so maybe there's an AI role to be played here in disparate data systems that belong in our total compilation, and maybe we can tackle that next. But hey, thanks again for doing this. Thanks to the Voiceflip Empire for sponsoring this whole thing and putting your expertise on this virtual stage with me kind of as a moderator. For those of you who are new to this experience, highly encourage you to go back and watch these episodes in a linear fashion. You will see them improve. As Kurtis comes to the table as a creator, a CEO of an AI company in the real estate industry, and then me as the eager user out there bumping around the universe and coming to Kurtis with these big picture topics and so forth. And we discuss things related to real estate, but not necessarily limited to real estate. So here's the thing. I'm going to put this on the table because this is in my preparation for this episode. We have routinely discussed fears and excitement around the world of artificial intelligence as it relates to real estate generally, and we know that there are going to be people displaced by advance in technology, as there have been for generations and generations. We're upon that inflection point right now. I think we have talked about before that this is happening in an unusual way. This is not a product release. This is not like the advent of some new widget that's going to do something new, and people can like sit back and wait for this to kind of appear in their lives, and they can use it. AI is already here. This is not a product release schedule. It is like a phenomenon that's taking place. So to frame our discussion today, there's an Axios article that I just read this morning about a Senate subcommittee study that it will be released, if it hasn't been released at the time of this airing, that's guessing that 100 million jobs are going to be, in the United States, are going to be deleted, repurposed, thanks to artificial intelligence, just based on that number, just based on the fact that this is an official government report, which take that however you want. What does this mean to you? How does it you?
So I'm a believer. Well, okay. First of all, are the jobs going to be eliminated completely and these people will be unemployable in the future? Or is it more of, the 100 million people will just be replaced and go into other jobs? People will retire out of jobs. There's a whole bunch of different ways you could look at it. I'm not familiar, with the population of the U.S. and how it's expanding or shrinking. I assume it's shrinking like most other first world countries. So is it going to be older people just aging out of jobs and AI going to replace them? I don't know. A couple different ways we can look at that. I'm not overly worried about it for one very specific reason. I think we can't eliminate too many jobs using AI because corporations still want to make an ass ton of money and people need to buy shit. So if people don't have jobs, we're not going to be able to buy anything. And we'd have to reframe our entire society. We're a capitalist society, right? You make money, you spend money, blah, blah, blah. If people don't have jobs, they're going to have universal basic income or something in order to actually spend money for these corporations. It's just not going to happen, I don't think. I love the U.S., but you guys can't even pass universal health care. Like, you're not going to pass universal basic income. So
yeah, we have a lot of other problems that are going to appear on our dashboard long before 100 million jobs disappear within 10 years. That's just, and then to couple that with the fact that this is a report that's coming out of a Senate subcommittee, which we don't do politics on this show, but it comes with a certain assumption that there are agendas being represented behind this report that are not necessarily being revealed in said report. So I'm just going to go over here to the big screen and just say, a summary of this is some of the specific role vulnerability percentages that were cited in the report are 89% of fast food jobs could be replaced. 64% of accounting roles could be replaced. 47% of trucking positions. From a logistical standpoint, that was the one that stuck out to me, meaning this is shipping and receiving. These are the people that are in the loading docks. These are the guys that are behind and girls that are behind the trucks. These are the attorneys that chase after those trucks when they run over people on the highways. This is a full economy that is going to be affected by that. And so those things don't necessarily strike me as negative. What does strike me as potentially negative is those people who are unskilled blue collar jobs that don't have a place to pivot. For fast food jobs is typically like, among some people's first jobs. It's where they go and get their, minimum wage income, and then they build on that and they go find something else. So it made me think of this, and I wanted to ask you this question. I'm a little bit older than you, and I grew up in a house that did not have a computer until I was in high school. We got our first, it was an Apple IIc, you remember? Tiny little green screen.
I do, yeah.
Beautiful. The advent of the PC in the workforce in the late 80s, early 90s was not a replacement, and I think that's something this report doesn't necessarily discuss. There's a replacement, there's augmentation. So when the PC appeared, in our international consciousness, it made a lot of these jobs that I just mentioned much faster. It made the fast food worker more efficient. More orders, computers may change, you didn't have to count all that stuff. And, the trucking industry and accountants and so forth, none of these people could live without computers now. And I'm curious, what was your experience pre-PC and post-PC, if you can recall a time when your life experience was binary in that way?
I mean, pre-PC, that's tough for a nerd like me. I'm pretty sure we got our first PC when I was in grade 6. So it would have been, I don't know, 10 years old maybe. I don't remember much of my life before that because I probably rotted my brain playing video games afterwards.
But there was a time you're experiencing the world as a pre-PC human being.
Oh, for sure. I just don't remember. Honestly, I don't remember much of it. I assumed I went out with my friends and played, but I still did that, post PC. I wasn't working at the time. Homework didn't get easier or harder because I never knew any different.
When you go to school, you may have a PC at home. This is what my experience was. I had my Apple at home, and I was doing very rudimentary, like word processing stuff on that. But then I would go to school, and there was no PC on the teacher's desk. We were still doing, the overhead projector and those kinds of things. Lots and lots and lots of paper.
Yeah, we had a like Dan, I'm a little bit younger than you. We had a in our library computer room that had a whole bunch of games on it, like math games and all this fun stuff. I remember that was actually my first experience with PCs, was going to the library and playing these math games, and I freaking loved it. Fell in love right away. I'm like, logic, gaming, just, I don't know, the ability of like the keyboards were so loud back then. Oh my God, which just something that it nourished my soul and kind of shaped who I was now, I think, which is actually pretty interesting.
So let's put ourselves in the position of, let's just take a teacher as an example. Is there's a computer room at school. I had one too, and we would go in there and learn. I learned DOS, the simple commands, coding in a very, very rudimentary way. There was, every single teacher that was employed at the school that I went to did not have a computer. We're looking down the hallway at the librarian, who was the computer expert. I had to learn how to do all this stuff, thinking to themselves, well, I'm going to freaking retire before one of those things is in my room because I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to do my job. I'm good at this. I got a chalkboard. I got chalk dust in my hair all the time. That's what I want. I don't want, everybody in the room to have a laptop and so on. We're at that stage, I think, with a lot of positions, the ones that I just mentioned, just noted.
Yeah.
And there's a fear of that. Half of those teachers in that school are terrified of having to learn how to use a computer. The other half, maybe 50% is a little bit generous, are excited. I can be so much more efficient than this. Do you think that we're at a point now with artificial intelligence where that is a functioning analogy, that we can look at this and say that there's the fear and the excitement around this are could be a positive movement? It's the 47% of trucking positions, according to this study, that are going to be wiped out. Does that represent an opportunity for these people? Because I think we're supposed to read this and be afraid.
Yeah, but I mean, that's with all new technology, right? All new technology comes out is going to replace some jobs, and then we all learn, we adapt. The printing press came out. Scribes back in the day probably were terrified once they finally heard about it.
The Luddites famously destroyed printing presses. Yeah.
Yep. Exactly, right? I think all new technology scares people. In this case, I don't think AI is going to go and necessarily replace any workers in trucking, whatever. It'll be, robotics and automation, which is a little bit different than AI, obviously. Um, that may go replace some less skilled workers. You don't need 10 people to lift a pallet. You see all the pallets nowadays with people. You use a forklift. But you know what I'm saying. You know, yeah. For manual labor, you can get a robot to do it. It'll be cheaper. It's safer. All this fun stuff. But then you still need people to service these robots, and all the other industry around having AI and automation and robotics. That's still going to happen. Hopefully, society picks up as a whole, and we start educating people more, so that if all these lower skilled jobs and less jobs for less educated people are taken by AI, robotics, whatever it is, in the future, that everyone's a little more educated so they get better jobs and all that fun stuff. Ideally, that's my utopian view of everything, which is how it's going to work out in real life, right? Because, everyone thinks like me, right?
Well, but I want to know what you think about this from a producer standpoint, because let's say the responsibility of carrying this like societal burden of these very large shifts in technology, when things come along, whose responsibility ultimately is it? I mean, I'm going to answer my own question here, but I think this vertical, if you talk about the creators of the AI, they have a responsibility, a societal responsibility, I think, to do good, whatever good might mean in that perspective. And then you have a government responsibility or regulatory responsibility that something doesn't come along and wipe out, a third of our national workforce overnight. 10 years is virtually overnight for most people.
Yeah.
And then you have an individual responsibility, people who see the writing on the wall. Everybody's got a computer but me. I better figure this out. There's a lot of steps in this chain of I guess, responsibility. As a producer of AI technology, actively building products and pushing them into an environment where most people are maybe a little vulnerable in this case. How do you see your responsibility, and how do you look at Artie, Voiceflip's product, as representing this I wouldn't say friction, opportunity, I think, to give people something positive in an AI environment?
Yeah, I think I've said it before with us. Our whole goal is to just make people more efficient, right? As a company, that is our goal. Hopefully have people work 4 days a week as opposed to 5 days a week, right? We're not meant to replace anyone. We just want to give everyone a better life, a better work-life balance. That is who we are. That being said, we're a startup. We have that ability to say that. If I was OpenAI, if I was Meta, if I was anyone else, I have a responsibility to my shareholders, and all I'm trying to do is generate a fuck ton of revenue. So everyone's, making bank and super happy, and kind of screw everyone else.
Yeah.
And in that case, you need the government to come in and have oversight, which is tough with AI, obviously, because we're moving so fast. California just signed a bill into like last week, I think it was, a couple of days ago. Yeah, which is a good first step, right? AI labs, like anyone producing AI technology, have to report into the government, how their oversights, their testing, all this fun stuff, how it works, and if there's any breaks or whatever it is. And it's a good first step, but it is a first step, right? Yeah, it's good. It's a difficult environment. You can't rely on corporations to do good, because that's not the responsibility of the corporation. Ideally, it would be, but it's not. And the government's slow to pick things up. So eventually we'll find a balance, like everything else. We'll find a balance. And I think society will be okay.
Yeah, I'm looking at this. I agree with everything you said, by the way. I have a hard time with balancing. But number one, government has never really been a good thing when it comes to advancing technology. I think usually we hope they get out of the way. and we find regulatory opportunities, and then we want them to respond. And so I don't think this report necessarily means that we have anything figured out. I'm encouraged by the fact that we're doing studies like this, because some things that came out of this, one of the examples is the proposal of what this will lead to is a 32-hour work week, which you and I have also talked about before, which is if I personally have more time at the end of my day, if I can be done by 3:00, thanks to ChatGPT, my God, what a gift. What a gift that is. I'm not sure that's going to work for your typical American who has been absolutely indoctrinated that the harder you work, the happier you are. Not true. Not true. However, I do think that there's some byproducts of this. One of the things that was a little disturbing to me was the mention of a robot tax. I don't think that companies having to pay some sort of taxation around using technology is a positive thing. But I get that they have to mention this. This is like one of the levers that government has to pull. Taxing is like in the top 3, you know. But anyway, yeah, I wanted your perspective on that because, you know, having read the article and feeling like this is the first time that I have read something, and I saw the mention of the California legislation, but I've never seen anything on a national level. And then I'm curious, are we going to be dealing with this from a national level and a state level? Will you be dealing with this from a provincial level? Are municipalities going to be making their own rules around how AI is used and so forth?
I hope not.
Going forward, I hope not.
You know what? It may come down from the European Union. They're very generally on the ball with certain things. You know, Canada may copy whatever they do, but the U.S. may fall in line with them or build their own thing roughly the same. But they're usually more progressive with that type of thing. You know, they forced Apple to do the USB-C chargers on their phones, and you know,
which was a huge win.
Yeah, just more consumer protection, which I don't think ever hurts anyone. And I say this as a corporation. I don't think consumer protection is a bad thing. Yeah, so I see the European Union leading this charge. I think restricting AI and restricting companies that use it. You know, that being said, you got, let's say, bad actors out there possibly rolling their own AI models. And that's a whole other can of worms because who's going to restrict them? You know, they just get a giant server farm, get some ultra efficient models, and they can cause a lot of harm. So, yeah, each country's going to have to deal with themselves. But yeah, I see how effective they're going to be.
Yeah, pivoting slightly on that subject, I wanted to ask you. We mentioned this, I think, a few episodes ago, but it was when I've been a ChatGPT user for a long time. It was the episode we were talking about the 5 update, and because it came out and the update was not ideal, and it getting ahead of ourselves and, you know, announcing that there's all this new functionality and so forth when it's not really fully baked yet. Yeah, and so I was testing with Claude and I was testing with Gemini and just like asking similar questions and seeing, you know, which if I was going to change, you know, what that looked like. Do you have any more perspective, I guess, on the siloing of these models, meaning that, you know, Claude has become known as being kind of a code machine. Gemini is still multi-purpose, and because Google therefore is multi-purpose, ChatGPT is kind of the top of mind now only because it was, you know, among the first to market and very versatile, kind of in every Swiss Army knife of models.
Yeah.
Do you any more perspective on this, on how we use these things, and if there's ever going to be a one size fits all?
No, I doubt it. I think it'll be all different models that can talk to each other. But I think each company will start to specialize in one or another thing. Right now, it's a land grab situation. There's a lot of money out there. You know, OpenAI just raised another $6.6 billion, I think, because their staff sold stock. So now their valuation's at $500 billion, according to that, somewhere around there. So there's tons of money out there. So they're just trying to find out where their market fit is, what they can get into, what they can actually build a profit off of. And then, you know, once that's gone, I guess they're going to have to find actual profitability somewhere and narrow their scope down to something that makes sense. So I think, you know, the video generation market's going to be huge. So Google and OpenAI are going head to head on that. as far as large language models go, I think ChatGPT will probably be the main one for a while. Grok is really good. Meta's Lemma model's also pretty good, but ChatGPT is just better marketing. It seems to be overall better tool. Claude's really good at coding. OpenAI Codex is good at it, and then they just released a new one, but Claude is still way better, right? So I think they will start to specialize, and then you'll have to have workflows that where all the tools kind of talk to each other. But from a business point of view, like if you're an enterprise business, those aren't interesting to you. It's the small models that'll get your products off the ground, right? Small models that'll fit into someone's workflow that'll take 10 hours out of their week or whatever it is, and that's where they're going to invest their money.
Yeah. Well, good. We hadn't talked about it in a little while. It's something that, I can go read about, what these models are doing. You just mentioned several updates, and it really doesn't mean anything to me as a consumer. It's really like, because I'm not coding. I'm not using any of this stuff for enterprise level. I'm using it for my day-to-day work. Looking at a whole lot of information and distilling that information down to something that I can, crunch on in an hour versus a full day. And ChatGPT is still just wins. And it wins because of memory. It wins because I can finish my work day to day. I can, open a tab in the morning and say, hey, what's up? It was like, what do you want to talk about? What we were talking about yesterday. And that wins right now. So shifting gears here finally is our regular segment of what we're excited about and what we're scared about. Or concerned, scared. We keep saying that. I'm not really scared of anything, but I am very excited about something.
Okay.
Do you want to go first? Can we go first?
No, I'm really curious what you're going to be excited about. Seriously, go.
Okay. Yeah. Here's what I'm excited about. This morning, I opened my phone and I was actually going to ask a question because I wasn't near my laptop, and I got an update. I got like this new interface I had never seen from ChatGPT before, and it was announcing to me that with 2 taps of my inborn stylus here, that I could connect my Google Calendar and my Gmail inbox to ChatGPT, and I can reap the multitude of benefits from that new relationship. That is exciting. Mm-hmm. So I did that, of course, immediately. Then it occurred to me that my inbox, Kurtis, is a murder scene. I mean, I think you have made fun of me before about this, but there's a number in the tab right here on my Google inbox, and there is a number of unread messages.
Okay. Do you want to do it? Do you want to compare?
Okay, you go ahead.
Do you want to compare work and personal? Because, that's 2 different beasts.
Oh, yeah, I have them both. I don't know if I want to share. Go ahead. You go first.
All right.
What's your number?
All right. So personal is 13,596 unread emails. And work is 1,150.
For a grand total of some big number.
Who knows? But personal, I mean, it's all just junky shit I never read, and or friends forwarding me, I don't know, something.
Are you sitting down? Are you ready for this? Are you sitting down?
Oh my, okay. That's not, you don't seem shocked by my number, so okay.
No, dude, those are kind of rookie numbers, to be honest.
All right.
My Gmail account, which I have had since the advent of Gmail, has, drumroll, 43,669 unopened emails. But in my defense, because this sounds like a crazy person, this sounds like someone who has serious mental issues, which may be true. But in my defense, that's some Banana Republic. That is some everything I've ever, that's some Netflix notifications. That is probably way back in the early days. I've got like Facebook every time somebody liked a whatever. Okay.
Yeah.
There is a way to purge these. I know that. You're about to say you can search and delete or whatever. I'll get around to that.
No, are you one of those guys? So Gmail always pops up every time I open it. It's like, hey, you haven't read your emails from Banana Republic. It's 6 years. You want to subscribe? And I'm like, no, fuck no. You never know when I want 20% off Gmail.
More black t-shirts. Right. Yes. I am. So what I'm hoping, this is further the excitement section of this episode, is I'm hoping that I can be like, hey, chat to you. can you cure me of this disease that I have that is represented by over 40,000 unread emails? And he's going to be like, dude, it's like there's going to be an explosion in Silicon Valley somewhere of like a,
Yeah.
particular machine cannot compute.
Yeah. Just ask him to read them all. And then, for the next, 3 years, he'll just talk to you about Banana Republic and Gap deals. Because that's all it'll be trained on.
I'll get a pallet of black t-shirts on the house. Amazing. That doorstep. Okay, you're up.
Ooh. So reading some articles. Ooh. I'm excited.
Well, you don't have to be excited. You could be really down about something.
No. Are we doing both? We usually do both.
Look, whatever. There are no rules here at Under the Hood.
I don't care. So this may interest you a little bit. Universal and Warner are working out a deal with all the big tech companies to license music to build. So if you're licensing music or using music to train an AI model, Warner and Universal are working on some deals so that artists actually get paid when these models are using the music to train AI models, which I think is pretty exciting for artists, because that's always been the thing that worries me about AI. It's so easy to be creative that it may actually hurt real creative people.
Right.
Yeah, so I think that's, again, two big corporations arguing over pennies, but whatever. I think it'll help artists in the end, which is a good thing.
Which we have noted before is as robot art, gets dumped into art, which has already happened. I mean, we probably are exposed to it a whole lot more than we realize. As that happens, human art, which has always been undervalued forever, is now going to have value for the first time, like real value, like the human in creativity, the inherent fallibility of a human artistic experience, the brushstrokes, the mistakes, the off notes, and so forth, is going to somehow be valued. Isn't that phenomenal? That is good.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to go with a scary part, or should we just end on a happy thing? Or do you have a scary?
Yeah. Let's terrify everyone. At least something that terrifies me is reading some studies lately about the future of the internet and how the internet's going to be completely customized for each individual user using it.
Yeah.
Right. Based on your preferences, based on your political leanings, so you'll log in, it'll be this giant echo chamber. All the ads are specifically targeted at you. Google's working on this new model that basically, if you're generating AI art, it'll alert after a couple interactions what type of art you like. But people are trying to use that to generate ads. So if you log in onto like Facebook, the ad you get is going to be specifically targeted to you. All the art will be specifically targeted to you, everything just to catch your attention. Compared to someone else. I feel like that's scary. When we get into our own echo chambers and, we can't see outside of our box. We're worse for it as society, and as individuals, we're worse for it. The fact that these tech companies are diving really deep into that scares me a little bit. I know they do all the time with Facebook and, Twitter, and like you get your algorithm and everything. But it'll get worse with AI because, you'll have videos generated on the fly, articles written on the fly, everything, right? Specifically tailored to you, which scares me a bit, I suppose.
Yeah, I hate it. Thanks.
All right.
Good.
High five.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks.
Five.
That's, okay. You may have seen this, and Clark, our illustrious producer, creative director here at Under the Hoodie, can hopefully throw an image on the screen when I mention this. But there is an AI actress, Tilly Norwood, has been unleashed upon us, and I've just seen references to this. I am not going to click on any link that features an AI actress, but apparently that we are now in the world where you could conceivably see content, feature films, so forth, that would be actors that are artificial intelligence. And I think that the attempt, again, having purposely not done the research to justify the existence of this concept, I just know the name, is that we would then be fans, potentially, of the acting work of some fictitious and completely artificially generated human thing.
Okay. So, all right. Now I'm an old man, so I may be a little ignorant how this works, but are there not like concerts in Korea and Japan where it's just, an animated figure dancing in like smoke, like a projection? Is that not all fake? I have no idea. Is it
I
not?
mean, I saw the Michael Jackson show in Vegas, and he was a hologram. I did pay to see a hologram.
But real music. I mean, I suppose.
There was a band,
Yeah.
and they were incredible. But yes, no, you're exactly right. But
I mean, it's just an extension. It is scary. I mean, yeah.
But what is the attempt to perpetrate upon us as a society, us being just the people who love movies, is that we could someday go to a movie and see an actor and an actress who is credited on screen with a first and last name who does not exist.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they'll be good. I mean, they'll be great. A compelling performance. I ain't kicking my mind around that.
I don't honestly. So I hate that, but I don't hate it for one or two reasons. The one big one is, as we've talked about before, not on the podcast, but together, Game of Thrones. So
Yeah.
Game of Thrones, fantastic. Can you imagine if you had the ability to sit down and do like the last season overbill just by getting some AI actors to do it, and actually make it good? Or just generate some new films based on some books you liked or some other films that they never made a prequel of or a sequel of.
Okay, I love where you've taken this. I love where you've taken this.
All right.
But just to further on this is what you just said a minute ago, which is content that's specifically geared to you. What if you had your own ending episode of the worst season in TV history? What if it was just catered to you and what it knew you wanted to happen? Mind blown.
That'd be awesome. Kurtis goes and kills the Night King. Yeah. I'm about to drag it off into the sunset. Fuck yeah.
Or Daniel Alfredson, which was my suggestion.
Oh, yeah. All right. Sure. Yeah. All right. Him and I, actually, we slap shot the Night King in the chest. Boom. Coordinated slap shot.
Is this the best episode? It's the best episode we've done so far. We have gone so far off the rails, but I'm loving it. Okay. Hey, thanks. As always, what fun. We have another special guest coming up. In closing, as we close the hoodie for episode 5, we have a verbal commitment from another special guest.
Yeah. Are we going to announce it or just late after?
Well, what I'm afraid of is since it's only a verbal commitment and I only heard it in passing and there were beers involved, that I want to make sure that I have the commitment before I say it.
Okay, fair enough.
But it's a big one. Big guest. Like big. Like Angie big. Like that level of, yeah.
That'll be good. I can't wait. A creator too, right? So that'll be two artists and me. It'll be a completely different dynamic. It's going to be so good.
I mean, what's going to happen? Stay tuned.
Sweet style rap.
I would never want to see you rap. I'm sure you're kissed it. Hey, thanks a bunch. As always, so entertaining, compelling. We got serious. We got funny.
Yeah. What's your answer, man?
Thank you. All right, Kurtis. Till next time.
See you.